Okay, I know the way this looks. Lately, there has been a lot of Irish Distillers products on the channel. I'm aware of it. I am a fanboy of Irish Distillers. There's no hiding that fact. They do great whiskies. It just so happens that the way that the releases have fallen, it was somewhat convenient for me to have them on the channel recently. It makes sense to do a video about them, in fairness, when they come out first. Let's see if you can spot, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that joke. I was going to be absolutely terrible. I can't actually bring myself to say it. Let's just drink some whiskey. Welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. I'm the Whiskey Chaser Brian here in Christy's bar, Kilkenny. Hope you're keeping well. Right, so I'm not gonna lie, I debated about putting this on Rare Whiskey Wednesday and I decided against, not because we did the first Yellow Spot single cast recently on Rare Whiskey Wednesday, link above, but because after doing some research and reading some word of mouth comments, that is a real thing. When you hear the bottle release count, you'll completely understand. This is the limited edition. Let me try that again. This is the limited edition gold spot release from Mitchel & Sons in conjunction with Irish Distillers, and Irish Distillers, whatever way you want to word that. Now, if we go back a bit, a couple of months ago to around Christmas time, there was a small leak of a label online, which I thought was just a Photoshop job, to be honest. I didn't pay much attention to it, of a gold spot special edition whiskey from Mitchel & Sons. Actually, it was just gold spot, didn't say special edition. To be fair, I don't really think anyone thought much of it. Well, I mean, not anyone for definite. A few hardcore fans and whiskey collectors were seriously hyped. Me personally, I actually thought it was a piss take up until a few weeks ago. I had actually forgotten completely 100% about it until I got the press release in my email inbox and imagery and all that kind of good stuff. The timing of which wasn't exactly wonderful, as there was bills to be paid, other bottles had been ordered and bought, and the funds were getting low, and I was running out of places to hide it from my missus coming into the house. Not that she minds, it's just, you know how it is. Anyway, it's here now. I did end up buying a bottle for my personal use, to which I drank, and then I bought another, luckily, and now I'm here to chat about it with you. So let's get to the official details, or let's get the official details out of the way. So this limited edition gold spot was released to commemorate Mitchel & Sons' 135 years of whiskey bonding, which commenced back in 1887 when the bonders sent empty wine and fortified wine casks to the local Jameson distillery, which was a thing done back then in Bow Street, to be filled with a new make pot still Irish whiskey, new make single pot still spirit, Jesus, for maturation in its underground cellars. Once filled, the fortified wine casks would be marked with a daub or spot of color paint to determine the age potential, with blue spot, green spot, yellow spot, and red spot, respectively, indicating the 7, 10, 12, and 15 years of the celebrated expressions within the pot still range. This one's gold. So that's the official professional wording copied directly from the press release, so you don't have to go looking for it. You are welcome. In short, it's a commemorative bottling, a once-off apparently, a limited edition and available to buy in Ireland, France, the UK, and global travel retail, and the USA, I'm told, from mid-July. So hang tight if it's not there, and if it hasn't arrived yet, it's on its way. You should be looking in around now for it. There was roughly between 30 to 35,000 bottles available through all those markets. That's why it's not on Rare Whiskey Wednesdays, and that's the information that I read online through various different people chatting. In other words, don't hold me to that information, but it could be true. Possibly, maybe, 50-50. What makes this so different then, we'll say, from the rest of the releases, let's just say for example, the 8-year-old, well, this is the second cask strength release, right? So the Blue Spot was the first cask strength release. That it wasn't a single cask, I should say, in the core range of things, which is not really core range, it's limited edition. And from what I gathered, plays more off the bourbon side of things while also incorporating that fortified wine element that Mitchel & Sons are famous for. That's what they do. And that's what this celebrates, the use of, or them going into whiskey bonding by using fortified wine casks. That's what I'm trying to say. Whiskies as young as 9 years old are in this, and I heard at Whisky Live that there is also whiskies of 17 years of age in this too. So a nice wide spectrum. The breakdown for casks is bourbon, obviously sherry, some Bordeaux, and interestingly port casks. I believe this is the first time that Mitchell and Sons have incorporated port pipes into their spot offerings. My favorite port, love it. This inclusion of port pipes in this release is significant because of some archives that the team at Middleton dug up that dates back to the 1800s, where there was a tremendous amount of port brought into the country and there would have been a lot of barrels filled with Irish whiskey. Hence the inclusion of port pipes. So there is a method to their madness. It's not just random. We got casks used, age statement, inclusion of the press release thingy, cask strength, roughly 30,000 bottles released. Don't hold me to that, 2 select markets, that's true. I think we're good to go, are we? Should we drink this? Let's drink this. Motherfucker. All right, it wasn't the most clean tear, clean open. It's open. And we pour. I'm gonna let that breathe just a little bit. I'll just fill you in one more time. I had this already. Actually, I had a lot of this already. To be fair, I tried this at Whisky Live in 2022 amongst the hordes of people surrounding the spot stand. It was crazy busy and there was whiskey glasses and people everywhere and shouting and roaring. And I'll admit, when I had it, I wasn't impressed at all. I'm gonna say that now, and I'll explain why after. Bear in mind, I was using the same glass for all my whiskey tastings. I'd had a few at that stage. I had washed it out with squirty water, but it wasn't my first drop of the day. Look, I'll just put it like that, but I'll explain more in a minute. Now, before we drink, Gold Spot, limited edition, around 30,000 bottles worldwide, don't hold me to that. The first to include the use of port pipes into the mix, along with bourbon, sherry, Bordeaux wine, cask strength, 51.4% ABV, priced at 120 euros, 9-year-old age statement. And here in Christy's bar, to drink. So I've given this a minute or two to open up, to breathe, and let's do some notes, why not? So this opens up with that kind of familiar spot pot still style nose. It's that immediate recognizable pot still and bourbon nose that you get with the spot range. Whatever style of pot still that they use for the spot range, it's here. It's very recognizable for me. It stands out as, all right, that's a spot whiskey, okay? Now what's interesting about this is there's more bourbon oak influence to kind of start at the front. And then where the magic is, a little bit of subtle spice, some touch of vanilla. But then you have your oak, bourbon, vanilla, light spice, and then the sprinkling of what I like to call the magic. And it's subtle, it's not forward. It adds to this incredibly nice, it's a bouquet of fruits. And I don't use that word often, bouquet. But I heard it somewhere recently, and instead of saying floral nose of fruits, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, a bouquet of fruits, which also makes no sense because it still references the flower thing, but you get it, it's a lot of fruits. Lovely fruits, quite sweet. Now, it's not in your face. You're thinking more bourbon forward with a lovely influence of kind of the fruits. So you have a little bit of light stone fruits, okay, from the sherry influences. The wine influence is here too. Quite nice. The little bit of port influence is there. It's subtle, but it's not incredibly in your face. Think cherries, berries, kind of Marciano cherries. I think that's how you pronounce it, Marciano. Taking a moment to open up a little bit. There's a little bit of spice there at the end too, just FYI. Quite light on spice at the start, but it's still there towards the end. So just to have a stop, Sláinte. A little bit spicy. Pot still spices, but you have a bourbon influence. Again, that familiar spot pot still style. Nice element of sweetness, kind of think cherries. Not so much stone fruits, but almost like a berry kind of mixture. Or technically, a compote. Fancy. Mucho fancy. Yeah, none of this up, Sláinte. It's quite oily, it's quite creamy, thick. The oak notes are obvious. Shit, I had a note in my head down and I'm after forgetting it. Oh, nuttiness. So the sherry notes I just tasted there. Sherry coming through a little bit in terms of nuttiness, could be playing on the port a little bit as well. But more bourbon forward again, with the hints of sweetness that do balance it out a little bit. Kind of getting a little bit of a buttery note on the palate. Nice heat, it's fruity, tobacco-ish, dark chocolate-ish. There's not much bitterness going on to this, which is nice to see. It's a nice element of sweetness, but think more along the lines of bourbon with a sprinkling of that fortified wine over the top, which is adding to, and it's balanced well, so it's not in your face. Actually, I'll give my thoughts in a second, but not overly spirit-y either, considering the fact that it's there's 9 years of age. Now I know there's whiskeys much older than that, but yeah. Quality, 51.4% ABV. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I had this at Whisky Live and I didn't rate it at all. I was kind of disappointed. I didn't think much of it at all entirely. I went away for a week's holidays and brought a bottle with me, and the more I got into it, the more I really, really enjoyed this. I actually think this is a hell of a whiskey. And I've gone through a bottle already. This is not my bottle, it's the bar's bottle. Now, is it a 120 euro whiskey? I don't know. Considering you can get the red spot for 10 euros more or for 25 euros less, the yellow spot, it's a hard one to call, but I did buy a second bottle of this, so I guess, you know, there you go. Oh, the blue spot I think is 90 euros, and that was really good too. I can't say much because I did buy a second bottle, so that kind of says everything for me, really, about this whiskey. If you haven't tried this or you're on the fence about trying this, I suggest you do. I think it's a nice difference from the rest of the core range. Definitely playing on more of the bourbon side of things than the others, but that fortified wine influence is definitely there. If you've had this, leave me a comment below and let me know, what did you think of this? Did it tickle your taste buds? So that is it from me this week. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you liked the video, give us a thumbs up. Thanks to Christy's Bar, as always. This dram is here and open. Call in sometime, anytime. We're always here. Until next week, keep it Irish. Sláinte.